Constructed awareness relies on a concept called nonviolence, and I first came across this idea through a therapist named Ron Kurtz. Now, Ron Kurtz, he developed a therapy called Hakomi Method, and he also wrote a book called Body-Centered Psychotherapy. And in that book, he talks a lot about violence and nonviolence in therapy. In his book, he said if you simply assume you know what's best for someone, you're behaving violently. And at first, this idea was hard for me to accept. Violence was just too strong of a word. But as I read more, I understood that Kurtz wasn't talking about overt violence as in the therapist harming the client, but rather a subtle form of oppression that happens when a therapist imposes their own ideas about what's best for the client. And the most eye-opening and challenging part of his message was the idea that it's violent even if what you're imposing is the idea that the client should feel better. Traditional therapy often teaches clients to resist their unwanted thoughts and feelings. They use techniques like thought stopping and thought reframing, but what if those are just new ways of teaching clients to repress their experience rather than new ways to connect with it? And that makes me wonder, why do we as therapists ever feel the need to change our clients' experiences? Could it be because their discomfort makes us uncomfortable? So I want to ask you, when you want a client to feel better, is it truly for them, or is it to ease your own discomfort? My fear is that techniques like thought reframing and thought stopping can dismiss and invalidate a client's experience. So instead of dismissing, what if we welcome their experience exactly as it is with curiosity? That might be the first time anyone's ever done that for them. If you're a therapist, you've likely felt overwhelmed and powerless in a session because your client is in distress or is expressing something distressing. Those are the moments when we're most tempted to take over to try to make the client feel better. Notice the subtle violence in that phrase, make them feel better. When we try to make them feel better, that's when we risk practicing violently, even if it's subtle. So keep this in mind. In those moments when you feel the most helpless, maybe the best thing to do is to help less. And instead of trying to fix the client's experience, maybe those are the times when it's best to just welcome and accept what's happening for the client.